Good men don't usually lose authority in dramatic ways. They lose it slowly, quietly. Respect fades, boundaries blur, challenges increase, voices grow bolder, and they don't understand why. They were fair, they were patient, they were reasonable. But power does not reward reason alone. It rewards strength. In The Prince, Machiavelli warned that a ruler who tries to be good in all circumstances will fall among those who are not. Most men never think this applies to them, until they are replaced. Tonight, we confront an uncomfortable pattern. Good men lose authority not because they are evil, but because they misunderstand power. There is a dangerous addiction in leadership. It is not money. It is not status. It is approval. Many men in positions of authority want to be liked. They want harmony in the room. They want people to feel comfortable. They want to be seen as fair, open, and kind. And at first this works. People smile. Conversations feel relaxed. Tension stays low. But something subtle begins to shift. When a leader prioritizes likability over authority, they begin negotiating their own boundaries. They hesitate before enforcing rules. They soften consequences. They delay difficult decisions. And people notice, not consciously perhaps, but instinctively, because human beings constantly test limits. If there is no cost to pushing against authority, pressure increases. Slowly, then all at once, being liked feels good. But authority is not built on comfort. It is built on clarity. And clarity requires the willingness to disappoint. Good men often hesitate there. And that hesitation is where erosion begins. A good man prides himself on consistency. He believes that if people understand his values, they will respect him. He believes transparency builds trust. That fairness creates loyalty. That predictability feels safe. In personal relationships, that may be true. In power structures, predictability is leverage for your opposition. If everyone in the room knows you will never escalate. If they know you will always forgive. If they know you will choose peace over confrontation. Then they also know your limits. And once your limits are known, they can be engineered around. Machiavelli understood this clearly. A ruler who is entirely predictable becomes controllable. Not because he is weak in character, but because he removes uncertainty. Uncertainty is power. When people are unsure how far you are willing to go to protect your authority, they hesitate. When they are certain you will not go far at all, they advance. Good men often make one critical mistake. They confuse consistency of principle with rigidity of response. Principles should be consistent. Responses must be strategic. If every challenge receives the same gentle answer, the system adapts. Ambitious individuals calculate. Opportunists probe. Competitors test. Not loudly. Subtly. A missed deadline here. A small act of disrespect there. A boundary crossed just this once. And if nothing happens, the next boundary falls faster. Authority is not destroyed in rebellion. It erodes through repetition. The good man tells himself, "They didn't mean it. It's not a big deal. I'll handle it later." But power does not respect delay. It respects enforcement. Predictability without deterrence is an invitation. And invitations in competitive environments are rarely declined. Boundaries are the invisible scaffolding of authority. Without them, power collapses, slowly, quietly, almost imperceptibly. Good men often fail here because they underestimate the subtlety of human ambition. They assume that others will respect them simply because they are fair, honest, or consistent. They are wronged. Every environment, a corporation, a social group, even a casual team operates on incentives. People test limits. They look for gaps. They look for hesitation. They watch for weakness. When a leader hesitates, others advance. When a leader compromises to avoid conflict, standards erode. When a leader avoids confrontation to be liked, boundaries dissolve. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. A prince who fails to enforce limits is overrun by the very people he seeks to lead. His subjects, allies, and even friends will push until they reach the line, and if there is no line, they will cross it repeatedly. Let's be clear, enforcing boundaries is not cruelty, it is strategy. Every consequence must be measured, consistent, and predictable, but never absent. A boundary that exists only on paper or in polite conversation is no boundary at all. Think of the manager who never disciplines underperforming employees. At first, everything seems fine. People appreciate his patience. But within weeks, tasks are ignored, deadlines slip, and respect erodes. The same principle applies in politics. Leaders who refuse to enforce standards are not immoral, they are ineffective. They confuse kindness with strength, patience with passivity, and restraint with weakness. Every challenge that goes unanswered, every limit that is unreinforced, sends a silent signal. I will tolerate this, I will not act. And once a signal is received, it is nearly impossible to undo. Good men hesitate here. They fear conflict. They fear making mistakes. They fear being disliked. But power does not wait. Power punishes hesitation. And the first sign of leniency is the first crack in authority. Boundaries are not optional. They are the framework upon which influence, respect, and loyalty are built. Fail to enforce them, and authority is not taken away in a single moment. It is stolen in 1,000 quiet concessions. Authority is meaningless without deterrence. Without the ability to enforce consequences, respect is fleeting. And respect, not likability, is the currency of power. Good men often fail here because they assume deterrence must be harsh, cruel, or visible to be effective. They are wrong. Deterrence is psychological. It is subtle, calculated, invisible to those who do not understand it. Consider a team leader who tolerates repeated infractions because he doesn't want to make a scene. He believes that as long as the intention is clear, people will comply. They do not. Instead, colleagues begin to test limits. They challenge decisions quietly. They push deadlines, negotiate privileges, and quietly undermine authority. None of this feels overtly dangerous until suddenly control is gone. This is the essence of political dynamics. Power is respected not when you demand it, but when others fear the consequences of testing it. Machiavelli's principle is timeless. A ruler must appear capable of decisive action, even if that action is rarely needed. Deterrence is a signal. It is a framework within which people operate or risk chaos. In modern hierarchies, deterrence manifests in small, almost invisible ways. Enforcing rules consistently, addressing minor disobedience early, setting clear expectations and following through, controlling perception of decisiveness. Notice this, it is not about cruelty, it is about control. The moment a leader hesitates to correct behavior for fear of displeasing others, deterrence erodes. Small infractions compound. Minor violations become the standard. Respect diminishes. Authority fades. The strongest leaders often act once, decisively, then never again because the signal alone is sufficient. The weaker ones hesitate repeatedly. Hopping kindness will preserve loyalty. It does not. It invites challenge. It invites subversion. It invites erosion. Deterrence is the quiet engine of authority. Fail to understand it, and the good man is powerless, not because he lacks morality, but because he lacks strategy. Power is not granted for intent. It is measured by perception, and perception is shaped by action or inaction. Power rarely leaves a position with a bang. It doesn't erupt in dramatic coups or public humiliation. It seeps away quietly, like water through cracks, until one day the leader realizes they no longer hold the room or the system at all. Good men often fall into this trap because they assume loyalty is permanent. They assume respect is earned once and endures forever. They assume competence alone guarantees authority. They are wronged. Every system, whether political, corporate, or social, has a hierarchy of survival. Positions are fluid, influence shifts, opportunists are always watching. And a leader who hesitates, avoids confrontation, or overprioritizes approval signals weakness. Others notice, competitors sense opportunity, subordinates test limits, allies begin to withhold support, slowly, quietly influence drains away. It is rarely overt, no one announces. We no longer respect you. Instead, they bypass the leader in decisions. They ignore directives. They align with someone else. The good man assumes everything is fine until one day, the system has moved on and he is left behind. Machiavelli's warning is clear. Authority is not guaranteed by virtue, popularity, or fairness. It is maintained by perception, decisiveness, and strategic enforcement. A leader who confuses being liked with being respected is already on a path to irrelevance. Think of historical examples. Rulers replaced without battle, generals dismissed quietly, corporate managers quietly undermined by subordinates who simply stopped listening. None of it is noisy, but all of it is decisive. Weak leaders are replaced not by those stronger in morality, but by those stronger in action. By those who understand limits, enforce consequences, and act decisively when the system demands it. This is the harsh reality most good men never see coming. The world does not reward good intentions. It rewards outcomes. It rewards authority. It rewards enforcement. Fail to wield your authority with clarity and precision, and you will not be overthrown. You will be quietly ignored, silenced, replaced. This is the natural consequence of failing to see power for what it truly is. By now, the pattern is clear. Good men lose authority not because they are weak in character, but because they fail to understand the system around them. Yet there is a subtle distinction that must not be ignored. Strength does not require cruelty. Many assume that to enforce boundaries, to deter challenges, to maintain authority, one must become harsh, vindictive, or ruthless. This is a misconception. The strongest leaders are rarely feared because they are cruel. They are feared or deeply respected because they are capable, because they act decisively, because they never hesitate when action is required. This is the essence of strategic authority. Clear boundaries, consistent enforcement, calculated responses, control over perception. You enforce limits not to punish, but to preserve stability. You act decisively not to intimidate, but to demonstrate that chaos will not thrive under your watch. Machiavelli understood this nuance. Cruelty without purpose creates hatred. Purpose without action invites erosion. The modern prince must navigate this line with precision. In practice, a corporate manager addresses repeated issues once, clearly, then moves on. A political leader decisively neutralizes a challenge, without overreaction. A social influencer establishes boundaries subtly, letting perception do most of the work. Authority is maintained silently. Challenges are preempted before they escalate. Respect grows not from being feared nor from being liked, but from being understood as someone whose limits are real, whose judgment is precise, whose presence stabilizes the system. There is a cost to seeing the world this way. It isolates. It demands clarity over comfort. It requires honesty about others and about yourself. Yet this is the core lesson of power. You can remain good, even moral, but never naive. You can be ethical, yet strategically decisive. You can maintain authority without cruelty, as long as you understand what it truly means to lead. And that is the quiet, uncomfortable truth most good men never learn until it is too late. Good men lose authority, not because they are evil, not because they lack intent, but because they misunderstand power. If you want to see the world clearly, to understand strategy, influence, and authority, subscribe. Next week, we will explore the subtle mechanisms that elevate some men to leadership, while others fall quietly by the wayside. This is The Lonely Pen, where silence becomes strategy.